I was mid-sentence, and with this integration, our growth trajectory, the door opened. A slow clap broke the silence. It was her brother, my manager. And the way he looked at me told me everything I needed to know. "We've decided to move forward with my concept instead," he said, stepping onto the stage like he owned it. "It's more aligned with the board's vision." He turned toward the audience, investors, executives, my wife, and smiled as if he'd just saved the company. Everyone clapped. Even she did. I closed my laptop, stood still, smiled. "Enjoy the funding," I said, and I meant it. I met Sarah when ambition was still something pure. We were both interns then, she in marketing, me in R&D. We dreamed late into the night about building something real, something we could call ours. Her brother Daniel joined later. Charismatic, clever, but with that particular kind of cleverness that doesn't build, it repositions. He learned fast who to flatter and who to steal from. I should have seen it coming when he started asking too many questions about my pitch decks. Still, I believed blood made him trustworthy. My mistake. The first crack appeared 6 months before that presentation. Sarah stopped asking about my projects. She'd deflect with work excuses. Avoid details. Then Daniel started showing up in meetings he didn't belong in. Same questions, same phrases, the ones I'd written. I brushed it off until I saw her reflection in her office glass one evening. Her laugh. His hand on her shoulder. The prototype open on his screen. My code, my layout. She saw me, didn't flinch. That was when I realized I wasn't just outmaneuvered. I was outnumbered. Emotion is a weapon when used right, but not against people like them. They feed on it. So, I stopped feeding them. I didn't confront. I documented. I didn't shout. I learned. While they built his pitch, I built something else. A new branch under a shell company I'd quietly registered 6 months earlier. The product wasn't stolen. It was the real one. Improved, streamlined, patent filed under my name. I had the receipts, every commit, every timestamp, every version log, hidden in plain sight, labeled under innocuous code names they never bothered to check. Then I waited. The night before the presentation, Sarah kissed me and said, "You'll be great tomorrow." Her voice trembled, not with guilt, but nerves. She knew it was coming. The unveiling, the applause, the end. I slept well. After I walked off that stage, the board swarmed around Daniel. Cameras, investors, congratulations. Sarah looked radiant. I'd never seen her happier. 48 hours later, the CFO called me. "Are you aware," he asked carefully, "that the intellectual property for Daniel's presentation doesn't belong to the company?" I let the silence stretch. "It belongs to a firm called Echelon Systems." "Yes," I said. "That's mine." By noon, I was in the chairman's office. The air was heavy. The blinds were half drawn, slicing the sunlight into thin stripes across the marble table. Daniel was already there, pale and sweating through his shirt. Sarah sat beside him, eyes darting between us. The CFO stood near the window holding the printed filings. "My filings." The chairman turned to me. "You want to explain this?" I kept my tone calm. The concept they pitched was built on proprietary code I developed under a separate legal entity. The company used it without authorization. "I'm here to discuss licensing terms." Daniel's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Sarah whispered, "You wouldn't." But I already had. The next 40 minutes were surgical. Every document they'd signed, every email where Daniel referred to my designs, every confidential clause Sarah had forwarded from my personal drafts to his inbox. All of it laid out, time-stamped, authenticated. By the time I finished, the chairman wasn't looking at me. He was looking at them. Daniel tried to speak, tried to frame it as a miscommunication. The CFO interrupted, voice cold. You're both suspended pending investigation. The chairman didn't even nod. He just said, get out. When we stepped outside, Daniel turned to me, his voice cracked. You planned this. I smiled slightly. You executed it. Sarah reached for me, desperate, now we can fix this. No, I said quietly. You already did. She stared at me, realization dawning, that the man she'd underestimated had never once raised his voice, only waited. By the end of the week, Daniel was gone. Sarah, too. The investors pulled out of their division, redirected funds to my new firm, the one they thought they'd destroyed. The company licensed my tech for double what they'd have paid in salary. I became the one thing Daniel never understood. Irreplaceable. Sometimes late at night, I replay that moment, the applause, the smug faces, the feeling of betrayal hardening into something sharper. But I don't feel anger anymore, just clarity. They taught me that betrayal is just misplaced trust. And I taught them that trust, once weaponized, doesn't miss. So when people ask how I stayed calm that day, I tell them the truth. I wasn't calm. I was calculating.